Greetings, prop makers. Today's Uphaunt is this skull and crossbones from the dollar store using jute, latex, paper, and paint, and just of time, of course. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. Yahar! And welcome to another tutorial. I found this skull a couple weeks ago at the dollar store, and I was like, what? It's supposed to be a door hanger, and you know, this hangs on here, and it's a pretty cool little thing. But I was like, why would you need something like this? Door hangers are just going to get in the way. Then I brought it home, and I ended up using it as a curtain tieback, and it worked really well as a Halloween decoration because it's one of the things that everybody has, but very rarely, you know, I usually use like garland and the such to do it. So what I did is I decided to make this into a curtain tieback. So before the video started, I went through, and this is what you can do, is you use a knife and you clear off all this flash. You don't have to do it ridiculously tightly, but enough to make it look so it doesn't look as clunky, still having a bit of plastic. So, and I also, it's pretty much straightforward. That's what you're going to do. So this time we're going to try something a little bit different. I'm putting a piece of black paper on the table so I don't end up painting it again. My wife was pleased with that little factoid. And we're going to do some latex work on this one because I think it'll look really good. And I've got a skull in my Halloween decoration, which I'm digging out right away once I can dig through the snow to go get it. Anyways, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use latex to give this a rougher surface so it looks cooler when we go to paint it. I was just going to put a base coat on here, but this plastic hates paint, and I always fight it. So let's give it a shot here. So with latex, this is from last year's batch, so it may not be as good as it once was. I just put a little bit on the base to get it on, and it can dry a little bit. You know, latex is fantastic. It's like a work. You can use wood glue for this. I just like latex because it soaks into the toilet paper or the sanitary paper that I'm planning to use on this. So I'm just going to give this a quick coating. I'm going to have to put more on after, but this is just to get the base. Oh, the smell of ammonia. Ammonia bothers some people. So if you don't like ammonia, yeah, just use glue for this. I just have the latex on hand, and I love working with this stuff, even if the ammonia is very, very, very strong sometimes. So a quick base coat just to make sure that the whole thing is done. I'm not doing these. I want to do these in I am just going to paint these with normal paint and then dry brushing. So we're just going to put this into the latex, and that brush is sacrificial. Latex is vicious for this kind of thing. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to tear up the paper, and all I'm going to do is just to do a tiny bit wrapped around on the back so I have something to bind to. And what's nice is these skull and crossbones, they give you something to hold on to while you're doing this. If not, you can get latex all over your hands. Mind you, pulling latex off your hands is kind of fun. Yes. So what we're going to do is you're just going to take the paper, stick it down like so, push it onto your... Now, you have to be very quick about this toilet paper because once it bonds to that latex, it's not coming back off again. So what you do is you just do this, you go around, and we put all of this on here, and then after what we're just going to put another quick layer of latex over top. And what this does is it gives us a very nice, rough, paintable surface. So I'm going to speed this up in post-production, so by the time you hear my melodious voice again, this will be done. Okay, and we're going to slow down again. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so I got all of the toilet paper on. It has a bit of texture, but that's fine. Now, the next step here is we're going to go through and we're going to you dab this on. You don't paint this on because the latex, it'll just pull your paper right off. So you just take your paintbrush and you slowly work on a surface of the latex on top of the paper you've already put down, and use the brush to push down the paper if it's flying up a bit on you, or if it sticks to your brush like that. You may have seen in the fast part when I was working around the nose, I didn't use 2-ply tissue. I just used single ply because, like I said, I split the plies because it just makes it so it's easier to see the detail on the mask. We left off with the latex being done, letting it dry. And what I did is I quickly went in and painted with just a warm white, these bones, because I need a base coat on it. The thing is, this isn't strong. It will scratch off. It won't be the end of the world. It'll just be, I needed a base coat that would take the paint a little bit better. Now, on Mr. Scully Scullerton here, we're going to take some burnt umber, or a similarly dark brown. This is what I want to do with this. And my brush has got some junk in it. Oh, we'll fix that. There we go. Okay. We're going to take the burnt umber, and now we're going to paint the skull. This may look very, very dark, and technically it is, but it's going to be dry brushed, which is going to bring the lightness way up again. And I want it to have some more depth to it than what it has right now. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to paint this up, and by the time I'm done, I'll be back and we will go over the next step. Finished! So it looks like absolute muck right now, but it'll look better, I promise, when it dries out a bit more. I'm just going to, if I see any spots that I really don't like, the paint will break down a bit more. And this is the base coat to make sure that we get a kind of a zombie look. You can see that I did the teeth just a little bit more. We're going to be getting more detail when we get the black wash on this. We're going to go brown, black wash, dry brush. And then this is going to be dry brushed, and we're going to go with the finish. Anyways, I'll be back. Waiting for that to dry. Oh, the joys of camera errors. Okay, so I'm going to have to summarize what I did. I recorded this, but for some reason it switched the whole thing vertical and done. All I did is I took black and I dry brushed these areas here to give it a bit more definition around here, in here, just to make it look a little bit stronger. And then after I was done there, I took a black wash and pretty much covered the whole thing with a black wash just to give it that little bit more definition. As you can see, I'm doing it a bit more again. So there we go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this be. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I want to wash that brown, actually. The black will be too dark. You know, I see some of the splats is not where I want it to be. So that's where we're going to stop for now, and then we will be back to do the finishing and the dry brushing. Everything's dry, and we are going to move on to getting some of the dry brushing here done. And I got a tiny bit of wetness here still. But, you know, when you do a wash, sometimes that stuff, oh, look at that, really pulled that off. When you do a wash, sometimes it just, that's the way it works. So I'm just going to do that because I don't want to wait 3.5 weeks for it to be ready to go. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to grab a little bit of brown and get this down to a dry brush level. And now we're going to start finishing this up and getting the final layers of this on. Now, you'll see now that as I do this, the detail suddenly all starts to pop. this final layer is really, and we're going to do one more light bone layer after this, but this is going to bring it back to being more skull colored initially. So the first one is we just do this as a light pass. As with dry brushing, as always, I'm being a little bit bad there. You can see I'm putting too much paint down. The more passes you do, the better. You just end up with a better result. So don't try to put too much dry brush down in one quick go. Your results will actually be worse than if you go back and do it multiple times. So I'm just gonna hit all of this here, get it as a nice finish here. I'm hitting a bit of wet, which is messed with my dry brushing just a tiny bit, so I got to be careful. Okay, now we've got this part done. Look at that, I actually punched through to some white there, believe it or not. We can do some touch-ups after, but that is almost dry. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of white using the same brush without having to go shift, because it's not going to be that big of a deal. Just going to get this white down to, you know, I'm going to have to change my brush. This brown is sticking around a little bit too much, and I really need this white to be white. Now we'll try it here. Okay, now with a little bit of white, we're not doing the whole thing. We're doing just small parts to accentuate, to give it that little bit more brightness so everything really stands out. There we go. So we're just gonna go like that. You don't have to get carried away with this white now. This is just a few little spots to make the whole thing stand out that little bit better. Okay. And just like that, our skull, outside of doing some black work, is pretty much, I'm just gonna put a bit there, is pretty much ready to go. And once this dries, I'm gonna go in here with the black and we're gonna finish this up. I'm gonna put a bit of work on this here around the teeth. I think I might actually do a bit of that in red. I may even leave that white there because it actually looks pretty neat. Looks like it punches through to the body underneath. So we're gonna wait for that to dry completely, and then we will be working on the dry brushing. Actually, you know what? We're gonna go and do that dry brushing right now. So, because I've got that brown out, and you want to have this down right to the level that you, a really light brown, and then we're just going to hit a few spots with this just to bring up the detail in these bones. You don't have to do a lot on this. You want it to maintain that white as much as possible. This brown is just to give it a little bit more flavor, so it looks a little bit more aged than what it was before. Okay, a little bit more here. We're gonna go through and we're gonna do a brown wash with the same color when we're done. And what it's going to do is it's gonna bring up the color of all these bones pretty much perfectly. There we go. A little bit of brown there, a little bit of brown there. As always, this is not an exact art. It's very much what you want it to look like. So we're gonna stop there. I'm gonna go make a brown wash. We'll come back and I will show you how to go about doing these teeth, because these teeth, we're gonna have to do a bit more here. The wash just isn't giving me enough definition there. So I'll be back. Okay, I've got my brown wash made. We'll do that right after, but I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna do a little bit of black details here. Because I'm not getting the definition that I wanted just yet. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take a little bit of black here. This is where you gotta be careful because you can overdo this very easily. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to fill in this area here to make it look like the mouth finishes, because I didn't like how these teeth just kind of tapered off into nothingness. So we're just gonna do this very quickly to bring out that definition on those. And this is one of those a bit more fiddly in terms of how you do it. So you just have to just take your time and make it look good. You know, if it's not perfect, you can get away with a lot. But what I'm going to do is I'm just using this black to accentuate the difference between the teeth and the top. Now, I was trying to figure out how I'm going to go about this one here, and I came up with the idea that the wash that I ended up with is going to be the wash I'm going to use here. And I figured that one of the things that I can do is if I just take a little bit of the black and dry brush these teeth like so, they're not going to stand out like a sore thumb. So the initial black was just to get that defined line there. And then I use the paintbrush to do the actually extra bit of dry brushing to bring up the detail of that. Now we're going to grab the warm, or not the warm, we're going to grab the brown. And this is a thicker wash that I put together. And now this wash is going to be used on the teeth to give them all the definition that I wanted. I wanted a bit more difference on those teeth. So you're going to see here that as I do this, that paint's going to sneak down in between each of these teeth. And since it's not a full-blown paint, it will flow a bit easier, and it'll give that definition that you're looking for to make those teeth stand out just that little bit more without making it look so fixed and ugly. So we're just going to go like that, and now you can see that the color of the teeth looks a lot better. That's going to dry a bit lighter when I'm all done. And while I'm at it here, I'm going to grab a bit more black. Going to grab another paintbrush. We're going to go in here and we're just going to tighten up. We're just going to tidy up these eye sockets. So when I took the Kleenex into them, it pulled out too much paint. So, and what you want to do is you just want to feather that black so it's not a fixed edge on it. You just want it to look like it darkens as you go into the socket. And you'll notice that what I'm doing is I put a bit of black on the paintbrush, and now as I do it a bit more, it ends up becoming a dry brush. And see, I caught a little bit too much of my wash there. And there we go. So we're gonna do a little bit here. That white is nice, but it's just almost too strong. Just do have a quick peek over now and go, hey, I know it needs a little bit there, a little bit here. And that will be where we leave it, the skull as is. You know, of course, if you want to, you can go through and you can have some real fun. Now you can drill a hole in the eye and put a light thing in the back. We're going to be covering this back, so don't worry about how it looks. We've got 2 stages to go on this. So we're getting close here now on the actual skull. I'm going to stand up here and make sure you can see it properly, because there we go. You can see that we're getting a really good definition of how that skull's looking. And this trick can be used on many different things. And this is how you take like a really cheap dollar store item and you really send it into the next level by doing this. So I'm going to take the same brown wash again, and we're going to use it. I'm just going to get rid of some. And I'm going to darken up these bones now. I'm going to give them all a wash of this deeper brown. It's going to take the bone away from being that stark white and put it more tonally in the range that I want it to be in. But I didn't want to color it brown because that's not the way I wanted it to go. So we're just going to go a bit haphazard here and just put on a really good wash of this. And you'll find out very quickly how it ends up kind of chilling back and working out really nicely. There we go. And a little bit more there. I've got to go and quickly spin this thing around to the back, have another look at it. And when I'm done here, I'm going to actually put it down. I'm going to do a tiny bit more with a more precise brush, because there's a few spots that I would like to be just that little bit darker on this. We're just going to hit this on the back. Technically, you're not going to see the back, but that person in you will probably go, ah, it takes 2 seconds. I'm just going to go finish it. So that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to hit that back with a bit of mess. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a bone, you know. You got to think that maybe this bone's been out in the sun for 10 years. And the more imprecise or not specific you go, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my lighter brush here, and I'm going to run this up in some of those seams. You know, puddle it in where you think that the color would be stronger. And same with here. You know, and it may look a bit specific now, but as it dries, this stuff has a great habit of just darkening up those areas. And here again, just going to go over here. Going to go here. Just put a line, a couple lines here off of the radius, just to give it that little bit extra definition. There we go. And we're going to be doing a little bit more on these bones, so this isn't where it's going to end up being finished. So we have a bit more room to do other stuff here still. There we go. And now we're going to let this dry again. The bane of my existence at this point is everything's waiting for it to dry. I'm going to do a bit more here. And missed a bit on the back there. Here we go. So we're going to let that dry off, make it look pretty good. And I'm going to show you a cool little technique that when we're done here, how to make it all come together. So we're going to hold there. I'm going to go get the rest of the stuff I need, get it ready. Once this is dried, we will do the home run and we'll make this thing look like a full-blown prop, and we will have it ready to go. Okay, after some minor technical difficulties with my phone filling up, I'm going to go over this. I've already done one, which I recorded once before, but we're going to be doing it again. So just put a little bit of glue on the back to start this off. Take your jute or whatever you choose to wrap with. This one just got to be patient. Now that one will go down there. It's going to wrap around the front, but because of how that twist is a little bit odd, you need to put in a bit more hot glue on the front here, like so. So the jute will follow the profile of the skull. So just have to wait a moment. And we're going to be doing 2 passes, and we'll do a bit of aging on it after. Nothing major, though. There we go. Flip it over. Put a bit more glue here. Wrap it over and around. You can actually be pretty tight with this. Put that there. A little more glue there. Push that in to get a really good bond. Around. And if it looks like I'm managing to burn myself a couple times, I almost am. I'm a little bit annoyed that I managed to muck this up and my camera filled up. So we're going to go here, going to fill that in. We're going to use the back of this brush to bring this over and really push that all in. We can put some more on after, but this is just to make sure we have a really good bond on this. There we go. Because I don't want it going anywhere when it's all finished. And this is the goal of what we're going for. So we want it to look like it has been wrapped, and that's exactly how it's turning out. So we're going to do it 2 more times. I'm going to do it in quick form on the camera, and then we will go on to the final parts, which is going to be dry brush. Okay, well, this thing came with the chain, and I actually recorded the chain being colored with a nice copper, which you can see here. But you know what, I decided that it didn't look as good as I wanted it to. So we're going to change it from being using the chain that it came with, which it ends up It's okay, but it just does not look the way I wanted it to. And what we're going to do is we're going to attach some more of this jute on the back. You'll want lots of this because this is going to be a point of pressure. So we're going to go like that. We're going to create the loop that we're looking for, which is about, well, that should be good. That'll get you over a doorknob. Because this is supposed to be a door hanger, but I'm actually repurposing it as a curtain hanger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do it a little differently here. We're going to take the second one here. And this will be also where you're going to use it different. If you're going to do a door hanger, just take this piece, attach it down here so this becomes the hanger. But if you're going to do this as a curtain tieback, which is what my original plan for it was, I'm going to make sure we get lots of glue on this because this is going to be a point of breakage. And we don't want it to. We want it to be good for at least a few years, so we're not doing this multiple times. There we go. Make sure that's nice and encompassing there. Make sure it's really well in. Okay. And just like that, I'm going to grab the brown that I made before, and we're going to quickly look at that. I hadn't even cut the second one yet. Let's just get these two roughly the same length, roughly enough. And what we're going to do is, of course, is just put a bit of aging on these, just so they don't look as clean and brand new as, well, clean and brand new as this burlap, jute, whatever the heck it happens to be, twine actually looks. There we go. And there we go, all finished. Again, anyways, this is the final result. It's going to be perfect to hang up on your curtain or whatever you want. Hang it up on the wall. It's the typical pirate skull and crossbones. Anyways, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you do it yourselves. I'd love to see the final outcome if anybody else builds this themselves. Send it to my Instagram at Samhain Propworks, or Samhain Propworks, which is the actual way of saying it. But thanks for hanging out, and remember to like, share, and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps me and gets me more than 50 views on my videos. So anyways, thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next Uphaunt.